There's a place that I've dreamed of, where I can free my mind. I hear the sounds of the season and lose all sense of time. Feels like we're in a dream, you know what I mean.
Right there, Camp McIntosh.
Yes, indeed, Mikey, you are right. It is Camp McIntosh. And of course, there are still spots available. So if you are not busy doing anything, September 23rd to the 27th, we would love to see you up at Camp McIntosh. It is a Monster Monday feature. It's $8.20 per angler. There's actually lots of options depending on whether you're going to bring your boat, how many days you're going to stay. So as I said, we're going to have a lot of fun. We always have great eats, great fishing. Absolutely great fishing, especially if you like smallmouth. It is second to none. So by all means, reach out to Andre and Tracy because there's lots of spots still available. I believe there's one whole cabin that is still not booked. So if you're not up to sharing space with other people that you don't know, there's a whole cabin that's set aside. And of course, there are still 2 spots available at Horwood Lake Lodge. Only 2 beds left, August 9th to the 15th. It includes everything. If you want to know more and want to join us and have a great week of fishing, a great week of food, and, of course, a great week of fun, by all means, reach out to Warren and Doris, our wonderful hosts. They would love to take your call. Before we get to some of the news, some of the things that are happening, I wanted to check the mailbag, if you will. As I noticed there's a bit of a lag because there's a lot going on tonight, so the computer's working extra hard. I want to thank our good buddy Jeremy Parker. I'm just opening this now. Holy smokes. Look at some of these gems. Now, the best part about all this is I'm not keeping it. In fact, I'm going to get our good buddy Jeremy. Look at that detail in that time. Holy smokes, Jeremy, you do fantastic work. There's 2 of these that he sent us. Let's have a look at the second one. These are great little cases. Holy smokes. Again, if you are into flies, you're going to want to stay tuned on how we give these away, because these are 2 really, really cool plaques. And I'm not really sure how we're going to do it, but I know Jeremy's going to help me with that. But Jeremy, big salute, tip of the hat to you, my friend. Very, very much appreciated. But they came last week, and again, we're in a big hurry to give them away. Lots happening, as I said. Tonight, we've got a special guest, Peter Larmand, of course, the entire panel. Peter's going to talk to us about his kids' event that he had, as well as a really cool initiative that him and his buddy Jim Wilson have teamed up together. And they're going to share all that with us. This past Saturday, if you didn't see it, I'll explain it now. This is an annual event that CFN is really, really proud and honored to be a part of. Jim is wearing these wonderful jerseys. They're commemorative jerseys that the team decided we put together, because at the end of the day, it might be a time where we as a team might have to take this over. And we just want to represent, and we want to pay our respects and homage to Big Jim for all the hard work he's done. So we got him this jersey. I think Tammy was more excited that she got a jersey. But a big shout out, thank you to Walter Huck for helping design it. As I said, Walter is it's his second trade, but he is a graphics designer, and he came up with a fantastic jersey. And again, we were all proud to wear it. As you'll see at the end of the video, there's a bunch of us hanging underneath the Sealy's Bay sign. But big shout out to Walter, and of course Bob McMillan, who paid for them all. Basically, we got together as a group. Bob said, Scotty, if you can put it together, I'll pay for it. So the cool thing is there's going to be even more people wearing it next year, because there was a few people like Peter that I didn't realize had reached out to me, and I'd forgotten, didn't see it. So, Peter is going to be getting one, and I do believe he's got a special one that he's probably going to explain later. But really cool graphics, really cool design, and Premiere came through in a pinch. We didn't have a lot of time to put this all together, but the fact that they got it together, and that's an absolutely fantastic shot. So again, really, really proud. There's the group. Those are all the volunteers. As I said, just as many volunteers as there are kids. But as we say, we will see you next year. And of course, Jim's going to talk to us about his recap and what that meant to him. I know there was probably a few tears shed after we all left. You could tell the big man was pretty moved. Also, it seemed like this was the weekend of kids event. Peter, of course, was the previous weekend, and we'll talk about that. If you didn't know and you weren't there, ICHA had their annual event. This is for handy-capable kids. Get a chance to get out and enjoy some fishing along the shores of the Detroit River. It looks like an incredible turnout. Pat, Nino, and Mike Atkins do a fantastic job each and every year. Talo is the MC. Some great help, some great volunteers, and it looked like a fantastic day of fun. And we're really happy that they didn't get rained on. There was no issues, and everybody had a blast. But I wanted to take a moment because this is the part that it doesn't get mentioned enough. But when we sell swag, it and honest to God, this is the honest truth. We're not doing it for the sake of making money. We love to see our CFNers doing great things at really cool events like this past one. And a big shout out, thank you. And I'm hoping that she's listening. Big shout out, thank you to our wonderful fan and beautiful Amber. And of course, Mom Trisha Wallace. It's really cool to see pictures like this taken with our CFN swag at such really cool events like this. So to you wonderful and lovely ladies, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because this is the true reason we sell this stuff and design it. We want to see you guys wearing it, and when it shows up at cool events like this, it's freaking awesome. It is absolutely awesome. So thanks so much, you two. Meant the world to see that. So again, can't thank you enough. Let's have a look at see who's with us tonight. Joe Vitani's in the house. How you doing, Joe? Beautiful day. Yes, it is. This is probably going to be the last day that's beautiful and sort of, survivable, because it's going to get hot out here. And I for those who are not dealing with heat, maybe they're dealing with rain and, even forest fires for that matter. I don't want to complain because, we got it pretty lucky today. So get out there and enjoy it. Steven, great having you, bud. Thanks so much for all of your support. Really appreciate that. How you doing, brother? Nice to have you along. Nice to see that YouTube is working. Appreciate that. Inadvertently, you managed to let us know that. Jim's in the house. Of course, Jim's going to be tuning in because, of course, there's a really cool initiative that Peter's going to be talking about shortly. Mark Wolf's in the house. Jeremy Parker, buddy, as I said, thumbs up on those flies, man. Holy smokes. Tim's in the house. Yeah, baby, indeed. Steve always holds down the fort when we're always busy at these events. He's always doing the edits behind the scenes, along with Walter. And again, CFN, we wouldn't be able to hold things together if it wasn't for Steve and Walt. So we really appreciate you two. Can't thank you enough. How you doing, brother? Nice to have you along, Tony. There's Sonia. Oh, there's so many. Jeff Porteous, how you doing, brother? Nice to have you along as well. There's so many cool people. Yeah, baby. And this is a great segue. Of course, Shane, good evening. How you doing, buddy? Great segue because, of course, while all these events that we're attending are going on, we have the Compare Conquer All Challenge that is happening in the background. And there's some incredible anglers, incredible CFNers, I should say, and anglers that are out doing some fantastic things. And I wanted to pay my respects for the dedication and support that these four have shown in recent days. Let's face it, they have been supportive from day one. But with this Compare Conquer All Challenge, a big shout out, of course, to our good buddy Shane Richard, who has been representing, and with hero shot after hero shot on the CFN Fish Off page. We can't thank you enough for your dedication and support, bud. You are awesome. And of course, Julie, this young lady, and I will say this with all due respect, I love her smile, and I love that she's out fishing. And I'm not saying one fish, I'm not saying two fish. This lady has caught multiple species and has done very, very, very well. So a big shout out, thank you to Julie, because she has loaded up the news feed over on the CFN Fish Off Facebook page. So we want to thank Julie. Of course, Jesse has also done his fair share of posting, and of course is always representing, always supporting. We want to thank Jesse again for all of his dedication and hard work. And as I said, he's a multi-species angler too, and he's chalking up ballots as we speak. And last but not least, Mark Wolf. Mark, your excitement, your passion, like, dude, you are truly a rare breed, and I wish we could clone 100 of you. You truly are, buddy. Tip of the hat. You're top shelf, and we can't thank you enough for all of the support that you give CFN. And we love when we're able to give back to folks like Mark. We're awesome. We love giving back to people like Jess. We would love to give Julie some props as well, and some hardware, and of course Shane. We'd love to give all of them something, but you got to win it, and of course they're doing their very best to make sure that they do, because each species counts for a ballot. You are able to submit up to 12 ballots each day, and Mike and I are going to be talking about a lot more of this on Tourney Tuesday tomorrow, so stay tuned. Lots going on. And then of course on top of that, it's the NCAA weekend series. And if you're a walleye lover, this you've got one chance left to get yourself in on the championship. It is June 19th to the 21st is the next and last qualifier. And I want to big shout out, congratulations to all these who have already qualified. As you can see, spots 16 to 20 still need to be determined. So that qualifier that is happening could be your ticket, because there's a lot of repeat anglers that participate in each of the qualifying sessions. Go over to www.fishdonkey.com, get yourself enrolled. And again, on Wednesday, my good buddy Danny Bacon will be talking about this. So as I said, lots happening in CFN land. We're truly, I don't know how we keep up with it, but I'll tell you, it isn't because of a lack of effort. There's lots of moving parts. And of course, we made an announcement 2 weeks ago in regards to our CFN app. And I am extremely excited that we are going to be passing this on to some eyes, because we want them to take a look at it and we want their feedback. So it is very, very close and almost ready to be launched. So stay tuned for that, because it's pretty cool. Looking forward to it in a big, big way. All right. Well, with that being said, that's all the announcements that I have for tonight. Let's get right into it with our good buddy, Big Jim McLaughlin.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
That you are, my friend. That you are.
What's going on?
Well, you know what? As I said, it is always an honor and a pleasure to spend this night with you and many others, including this past weekend. Big shout out, thank you to both you and Tammy for being great hosts and allowing me to sleep the night at your place on the eve of.
Hey, I didn't hear you snoring this time.
You know, and you even opened the door. I noticed you opened the door. Did you think that I had died or something? Like
I was hoping you'd leave.
A little bit of cheese, Jim. Put a little bit of cheese right at the door, and I'm gone. We made the announcement last week, of course. The wonderful folks over at BKK have stepped up in a huge way, and you have joined the BKK team. But I'm sure you want to make another announcement this evening. Boom, shakalaka. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, and it's really cool. I mean, these guys, I was talking to Peter after I mentioned about them being a distributor last week and whatever. It slipped my mind that they manufacture all this stuff too.
Yep.
Like there's so much stuff in it, all that compact stuff. As a kid, that we used to, the hooks and the sinkers, and all that other stuff that's in there. It's just it's absolutely amazing. I've been sitting here playing with Peter. Sent me over a few of the goodies to get me started. I asked him about a chatterbait rod, so he sent this over. It's one of their Elite series. I've got that to go. But you know, one of the really cool things he sent me. Now I'm not a steelhead guy at all. So he says to me, I had to get. He sent me over something that I'd never think of buying. Is a slip bobber rod, and I think it's 7'9", which makes it hard to get along with, but it's 2 pieces. And I just thought, like when that clicked in my mind, I thought, this is so cool. It's just to have a 2-piece rod with a slip bobber on it. And, you know, you can feel, I put it up on the ceiling, I can feel it. The action on it's just perfect for a bobber. Just perfect. Awesome. But this is where it comes along. A lot of these rods, Peter and the pro staff that he has, they have a lot of people that spend a lot of time fishing for steelhead. And that's a big thing, you know. It's the same bobbers and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to getting a little bit more of an education here. Maybe I'll be able to catch some bigger penfish.
Well, and I will say that you have mentioned that the team is very excited. I visited with Ed on the way home from your event, and he was very excited to hear that you had joined the team as well. But yeah, some big things happening in Streamside Land and Emery. Is it Emery Wholesalers? What is it? Emery?
Emery. It's at Emery International.
Emery International.
Yeah.
Some big things happening in Emery International.
Like the brands that they've got: Compact, Streamside, Emery, the Swedish Pimple, Shoreline, the Clacker, Kamikaze, Backwoods. There's everything that you want in here. And it used to be, it was CG Emery, and David Emery recently sold, and he's retired. He's, you know, gone off to do what you do when you retire after spending all your life in the fishing business. And now we've got Matt's taken over, and we had a couple of really nice chats, and I really truly feel like I found a home.
That's awesome, pal.
Yep,
all of us are happy for you, man. All of us are happy.
All done on a handshake too, you know, not getting corporate lawyers involved and stuff and everything else, and that just blew my mind.
There it is, CG Emery. That's right. I knew I was missing something. Thanks, Ed.
Yeah.
That. Oh, this is kind of cool. Shane is sharing a little bit of feedback. I don't know if I told you just before Perch Fest, I was asking about the Gobius. Yes. And all my 13, 14-inch perch came on my half-ounce Gobius bait. I have it in 10 different colors. So big shout out. Thanks, Shane, for that kind of feedback. Of course, we do try to do our best to try and teach folks and show folks, expose folks to new things. And we like to think that they work. But yeah.
I'm ecstatic. And I'm not done yet. I have some other stuff coming, which you know about. We'll just wait till it's in place. And I still actually have 3 more, like 95% deals done.
That's awesome.
Stuff and fill the holes and little things like fiberglass rods for crankbaits and stuff like that. We're good. It's going to be better than it was, I guess.
You know what the coolest thing is, Jim, is especially on Saturday, you saw it. And I know you're dealing with a little bit of discomfort, but the excitement, you know, you could tell that you're excited. It was almost like being born again, if you will. And, you know, a lot of folks commented on that. They were really, really happy to hear that this news was happening for you. And as I said, you certainly exuded the excitement that we were all sort of hoping.
You got to be somewhere when you've done this all your life.
100%, buddy. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe the messages I've got since about 2:30 today. Like, I'm talking like over 100 on my, messages for people.
That's awesome.
And a lot of them are people I used to work with saying how happy they are and whatever. So that, that makes it even cooler. It's really cool.
It's truly awesome.
Hey, Steve Shaw, we missed you. We missed you, buddy. It was the only thing that was missing on Saturday, pal.
Absolutely. We well represented, lots of volunteers. We're going to be showing the video shortly, but I want to bring in our special guest tonight. Peter Larmand, who I always seem to get his last name wrong. I'm so glad tonight that I nailed it. Peter, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing well, guys. Very well.
Fantastic. It is always an honor to bring. Awesome. Well, it's always an honor to share time with you. It is now an honor to have you here on CFN Live. I think, did we have you once before?
No, this is the first time I've been on.
This is the first time,
and I'm very honored to be here. Watch the show.
I hear trumpets playing. I hear trumpets playing in the background. Peter, obviously your event was last weekend, and it looked very well attended. Some big smiles on some of those kids' faces. I know you had some bad weather last year that you were dealing with, and unfortunately, it didn't dampen the spirits. I mean, those kids still went out in that windy, wet weather, but it was nice to have some half decent weather this go around. I can imagine.
It was. I mean, it was still windy, but the rain stayed away, which is very good, and that really helped out a lot. We've been doing this for 20 years now, so it's there's years you're going to get bad weather, but we've always had close to 40 kids, no matter what the weather is, and it fluctuates from year to year. Our most has been 91, and when we first started this. We started, like I said, 20 years ago when we had 7 kids.
Wow. Well, the unfortunate thing, for those who know, this was potentially the last kids event that you were going to host. Now, that may have changed based on the conversation that we had on the weekend. I'm not going to force you or try and get a decision out from you because I know you and your wife are discussing it. But I think the reason I'm mentioning this is because it goes to what you and Jim mean to me when it comes to these kids. At the end of the day, as much as time and effort that you've put into it already, and there's always got to be an exit plan. But the outcry, the feedback that you received has made you second guess whether you are actually going to cancel this and be done with it or perhaps bring it back next year.
Yeah, again, I spoke with my wife again last night and again this morning. And, we're probably going to run our 21st year. We're about 90% general. It is. The feedback we've got was, well, my kid is just coming of age. They're going to be 2.5. Can they still participate? And we're like, absolutely. We don't care if you have to help them hold the rod. We're just dunking worms on shore. It's just to get them outdoors, right? But the smile on their faces, as you saw with Jim's event on the weekend, and Jim's been to our event numerous times. I'm pretty sure I can say with at least 15, if not more, times Jim has been there, and the smile on their faces, no matter how much effort you put into organizing it, and the headaches you have and whatever, you just go, it's all worth it. And it's hard to walk away from it. I was kind of wanting to, because last year I had started another initiative that I wanted to kind of take it to that next level. And then we started something again this year that I had started before COVID. So everything's kind of coming full circle for us. So, and then had a conversation with my daughter, and she's like, well, Dad, I mean, I started this. We've had kids that started fishing with us come back to volunteer so that they can give back to the sport. We've had a young angler that went on to fish Ottawa Valley Bassmasters and ended up getting Angler of the Year and started at our event. So it's kind of interesting, but with what the next event that we're doing, plus our young angler event, it's kind of almost like a graduating system, if you will. You went from dunking worms to what we're going to talk about tonight about the Smith Falls Youth Fishing Club to going into the young angler event. It's almost like it's a progression. It just seems like it's a natural thing to do, at least in my eyes, but sometimes I see things that are a little weird.
There's a gentleman sitting below me right now that feels the exact same way. And of course, I honestly, and I'm not just saying this, Jim, because you're here tonight, I would be amiss to know if there is anybody out there in our fishing community, in our industry, that has done more for kids and getting kids into fishing than you have. And I say that with the utmost confidence. But I know it's not something you boast about, so I'll do it for you. But because of what Peter said and the importance of the Seeley's Bay event, what it means to the Seeley's Bay community as well as the kids, and we had a bunch of new kids show up this year, which was really cool, Jim.
First time fishermen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell us what this event means to you and why you were so proud to see the jerseys and how this legacy that you've started is going to live on long past.
Like, I've done these things, Scotty, since I was, like the pond in Ottawa is 31 years. I've gone to some years. I think it was one year I drove to 29 of these things around Ontario. Some of them I had to get hotels to stay at, when I was still really had all my mobility and things, and I'd walk around and, pass stuff out to the kids and give them. In fact, it was so cool. I've got this here. I wanted to show it. What Steve Rioch, you got me the bag made with my name on the end and the little embroidered fish on the other end. So I've always got something, because I always I have a bag I keep in the truck, and I always have a couple of little stuffies in it for little kids and stuff like that. And we saw it here on a weekend. A lot of the little kids wanted to take a stuffy. Doesn't have to be something fishy,
Yeah.
It was just so cool. That little guy was one of the coolest. There's that. Hey, who was that guy sitting on the dock there? Sitting there and having a good time.
And a big shout out, of course, to Crystal Dale for taking all of these photos and sharing them.
I think he just ate a worm.
Yeah.
He very well could have.
Like to see so many, like look at them looking in the water.
I know. They're fascinating. And look at the I mean, that says it all right there.
Yeah.
And the concentration that they have.
Yes.
Like they're so focused, right? Like they're looking over the edge. You go, what are you looking at? There's a fish there. I'm looking. It's gonna bite my bait. It's gonna bite my worm. And they're so excited.
That kid, it was his first day fishing.
Are you serious?
First time he ever went fishing.
And he won the big prize. He caught all fish.
Was it him that won?
Yeah, he was the one that won. That was his first time fishing. Holy smokes! I think I have the photo. Just give me a second here, lads, and I'll see if I can upload that because he was
there he is.
Wow.
Let me get a better photo of it. There it is, right there.
Tammy's still rocking the pigtails.
I was going to say that. With that, that looks freaking
I'll tell you,
awesome.
Scotty, when I saw you guys all walk up with the shirts on, I fought just sitting there and crying, just to try to be a tough guy.
I kind of knew that, Jim. I'm not going to lie. I kind of knew that.
I don't know how it didn't come out of me.
I'm very impressed.
It came out of me after, sitting on the side of my bed. See Anthony there with him, the conservation officer?
Yes. Yeah.
I met him in Rockland on the Ottawa River and took him fishing with a Zoomy when he was 12. And he didn't know what was going to happen. And then Bob ended up taking some other kid in the boat with him, and I brought Anthony in the boat, and we beat him.
That's hilarious. But I can't believe that was this young lad's first day out on the water fishing. Like, it looked like he knew what he was doing, and as I said, he caught 36 fish for 36 ballots and ended up taking home a super soaker, which was really, really cool. But of course, to get back to what you were saying, Jim, it means a lot to us as much as it does to you that you have planted this seed, and now it's a 100-year-old oak tree that we're going to make sure that we nurture and try to expand and grow what you've already started. Because at the end of the day, dude, we all know mobility is difficult, and we got to be proactive. And as I said, you have got quite a team. Like Neil Bedard, I can't thank you enough. Steve, of course, Lewis. There's a bunch of folks that aren't in this picture that didn't have a jersey, but we're going to make sure that they get one. Jenna, I mean, there's a whole host of folks that were there. And I wanted to take a moment because I know you probably want to give a shout out to Pepe, who right now is recovering.
Yeah, we have one of the guys that's always come is Pepe Pritzian from down in he's in the armed forces he's down in Trenton on what is it, 8 wing that's down there. And he had a 100% blockage on one and 80 or 95 plus on the other three. So they don't even know how he was walking around breathing or doing whatever he was doing. So he actually went in. I think it was he went in. He had the operation on I think Wednesday afternoon. He was in the hospital Thursday, and they got sick of him and threw him out on Friday. So I called him and I said, I see you at home. Are you going to be here in the morning for 8:30? And then he told me, he says to me, he says, I walked to the corner and back, and I came in the door, and I looked at the stairs, and I just sat on the first stair.
Wow.
But he's coming along now. I talked to him again, and he's talked to him a couple of times since. So it's he's going to be good. That's what it is.
Last thing I wanted to mention, of course, if you haven't seen the reel, by all means, there's a great one that I posted last night. I'm amazed to see how many views it's had already, but it goes to show, the importance of this, and folks see the importance that we for the sake of the industry, for the sake of the fishery, for the sake of the water, we got to get more kids involved in fishing.
She looks like she just lost a 6-pounder.
No. So again, thanks to all who came, all the parents that were very, very active with the kids. I think that is the other key thing to this event is that the parents get involved. They're making sure that the kids have worms. They're making sure the kids are engaged. Didn't see too many leave early. I'll be honest, there was a very, very small handful left early, but they were engaged right to the end, and they wanted to win. It's bragging right?
That one kid, the kid that won, he came out to talk to me, and I told him, I said, hey, you got a good chance. You shouldn't be up here talking.
I can't believe that. And he had a custom rod that I believe his grandfather made for him.
No, he built it.
He built it?
He built the rod. That's why he put the stripper guide on the wrong way. The stripper guide's pointing the tip. Yeah. Didn't make any difference for what he's doing, but nobody said anything to him, but it was just amazing. The kid built the rod, yeah.
Unfreaking.
Look at that handsome guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I make everybody look thin when they stand beside me. With all that being said, of course, thanks to you and Tammy for doing this every year. And, of course, the folks at Sealy's Bay, they came out and, of course, had a scavenger hunt for the kids. And they were very visible and running around helping out. We had some coffee and muffins that were brought down as well. So
that was incredible. The muffins, in fact, Anthony, the conservation officer, he ate too, and so did Jess, Travis's girlfriend.
Oh,
She
yeah.
I told her, I said, I'm keeping a memo on this. I'm big on memos. I went right on it there. I didn't eat one.
So now I want to bring you back because you're on here to talk about something that you talked to me, and it's so funny when you reached out on Sunday because I wasn't sure if I heard you right. And not to get into the details, but I wasn't sure if I heard you right. And we've had a discussion since then. And what you have now embarked on, buddy, this is freaking awesome. So I think you're up, and let's explain what the Smith Falls Youth Fishing Club is all about.
So basically, it's something that I started it back almost in the middle or during COVID. But it was to teach kids about fishing. Again, my event, Jim's event, all the other events, the cops and kids events, that's fantastic. It's amazing. It gets them going. But what's their next level? What's their next step? What do they do? Being in the tackle shop, we get a lot of kids that'll come in and they'll say, well, how do you tie this? Or what's a Texas rig? Or what's what we take for granted, right? What's a Texas rig? What's a drop shot? I don't know how to use a bait caster. They don't work well. How do you spool line? The Smith Falls Youth Fishing Club, we're going to meet for 5 evenings, 2 hours on a Wednesday. We're starting on June 4th, sorry. And basically, we're going to take the first 15 to 20 minutes, and we're going to go over a topic one day. So let's say we're going to talk about the basic fishing knots, right? The Berkeley knot, the Palomar knot, the slip knot. All those knots, how do you tie a hook on? Now we're going to go out. we're not going to use live bait. We're going to use artificial bait. We're going to go out. We're going to cast. We're going to show you. You're going to take your hooks. You're going to cast them. We're going to give them everything they need. They just got to bring their own rod. We'll supply them with hooks, whatever we're showing them that day. We got some amazing people that have come on board that are helping us, and it's quite ironic. Peter Cito and CG Emery are one of our sponsors for this, and have provided us with line for the kids, eyeglasses, all that sort of stuff. But each day we're going to teach them something new, something that is very basic to us that we've been doing for years, but no one has taught them. Whether their parents don't fish, we have a lot of people that go, I don't fish, but my kid is so into it, I don't know what to do. This is what this club is all about. We're going to show them how to spool a line. We're going to show them how to use a bait caster, how to properly set one up, how to cast it. And then when we announced this, it was for the older kids, kind of like the high school kids, the grade 8 going into high school. And we were getting feedback saying, well, what about my younger kid? Like, what about under 10? What are we doing for them? So I've partnered up with a good friend of ours and yours, Jim Wilson, because one of the things we want to talk about is also trolling. I'm not a trout or salmon fisherman, and obviously Jim is, and so he's going to talk to them about the trolling aspect of it. But it was just, what are we going to teach the younger kids? So I said, well, hey, we can teach you how to cast. We have a lot of kids that don't know how to cast, whether it's with the spin cast or a spinning reel. They don't know how to cast. They can't release it. Not sure how. They get frustrated.
Yeah.
When a child gets frustrated, I don't want to do it. It's not fun. If it's not fun for them anymore, they'll just stop doing it.
Yeah.
We still want to make the fun into it, but we want to teach them how to do it. And going back to my event last week, one of the things we did is we actually kept a few fish, and we did a filleting demonstration.
Oh, wow.
So we even had a fish fry. So, thanks to Jim Wilson and Mike Robillard, they were the guys that they brought some already filleted panfish, crappie. We even had we were lucky enough that Jim brought some walleye. But we wanted to show them that this is a resource that you are allowed to harvest within the limits of the law, but you could still throw the larger ones back because they're spawning, but keep the ones that are within the slot sizes or the limits. And we showed them how to fillet it and not waste fish. Then we cooked it 2 different ways, and they got to try it. And they're like, wow, this is really cool. So it was kind of a full circle thing with I call it the worm dunker one. With the shore fishing, is like, you catch fish, we show you how to unhook it, we show you how to release it. Now we're showing you how you can clean it so that you can actually enjoy it for another day, or enjoy it and then go back and either keep a few for the pan, but let the rest of them go. And then, like I said, this next step was to teach them, okay, the different techniques. Drop shotting, how would you rig a drop shot? How do you do a Texas rig, a wacky rig, the different knots. And not to get into too much detail so that they get overwhelmed, but we'll start with a washer and a string. This is how this is your knot. That's how you tie it. We'll try it a couple times. Now let's go out and do it. We'll bring some bait casting rods there. They'll try it, and sure, there'll be bird's nests, and that's fine. We've all had bird's nests. The first bait caster that I got from Big Jim when I was in high school, he showed us how to do it at Fishing Buddies, and from there, here we are today. But it was someone actually showed, and I think we're missing that. You and I have had, Scotty, have had numerous conversations on this. It's like, having fish tournaments for so many years and whatever, I don't see that. I don't want to call it a mentorship program, but I don't see. We're so afraid to give up what we know, right? I'm not asking for a specific waypoint. I just teach a kid. And now so that's the second step. The third step, as I mentioned earlier, was the Young Angler event. We pair up an angler, boater, with a young angler and a parent or guardian. We just had an event 3 weeks ago. We were on Mississippi Lake for pike and walleye. And we've had kids that never caught walleye before. We're having great times. Awesome. Last year we started with 6. First event this year, we're at 19. We have another event coming up July 25th, and we're already maxed out at 26. We are looking for boaters. And again, it's just, we're trying to teach the kids. We just want them to get out there. And now with kayak fishing being so popular, right? You don't need to run around in a $100,000 bass boat. You know, you can go out on a kayak, get yourself a board, a catch board, measure them up, $50. You can do these month-long tournaments. These apps that are coming out, which I'm so looking forward to seeing your app. You know, there's all these different things that are out now that we just need to get the kids out there. They're, you know, there's an old saying, and it's been said for years, you know, more tackle boxes, less X boxes.
Amen.
Let's get them out. You know, like Jim made a comment. Oh, look, it looks like that kid just lost a 6-pounder. We've all lost 6-pounders and have cried over it. We've all lost 3-pounders and cried over it. Yeah, I can get the thing off my my PlayStation game where I feel the vibration of my controller, but it's nothing like the feel of a real rod in your hand. So and not only that, you're outside.
Yeah,
it's calming. There's so much going on out there that we don't notice because we're always inside.
There's something that the app is going to be a great step forward for the whole industry, and Jim knows all about it. But there's also a key component, because the app brings folks to, you know, the page, to the community. But we are trying to reach out to new anglers that don't speak English and French, but we also have to be able to teach them. And our Future Anglers program is going to go in depth with that, from everything from an entry level, the introductory level we're going to be offering for free, so we can get more kids involved in that. And I'll definitely be sharing that with you, Peter. And then when you get into some of the upper levels and the elite levels, you know, Jim has stepped up and said that he would help, you know, add some advice and lead it down a path that, you know, is obviously going to benefit those who are taking it. So it's great being a part of this threesome that think outside the box and think about the future. And the unfortunate thing is, you know, I can only speak for myself. We're getting long in the tooth, and our time, you know, is almost borrowed at this point. But at the end of the day, it's what we want our legacies to be. And I know Jim and I have talked about it. Jim, you have talked about it at great length. What do you want your legacy to be? And it's just want to get people fishing. You know, I don't need to be famous. I just want to get people fishing.
That's it.
Hey, Pete, on one of those dates in July you've got there.
Yes, sir.
We'll work on a date. I'd be happy to come up there one night. Where are you holding these things?
So these are going to be at it's at the Old Slides Lock. So you know where we had our kids event at Lower Reach?
Yeah.
It's going to be on the other side of the river where it's actually deeper, less weeds, so we can throw spinner baits and crankbaits and all that without getting caught up in anything. But there's also some good pike and bass there during bass season. So
maybe I'll try to come over one night there.
That'd be awesome, Jim. Always welcome. Always.
I'd be happy to come down on behalf of Streamside. Yeah. Be my first official event. There you go.
Perfect.
Well, gentlemen, I can't thank the two of you enough for joining us, and we could talk about this all night long. But before we go, I always like to give our guests the last words. So, Peter, is there anything that we have missed that you wanted to mention and touch on?
The only thing I could say is if there's any boaters, and again, you don't have to be a tournament guy. You know, we've got tournament anglers, we've got fishing charter captains, guides. We just have guys that love fishing and think the same way the three of us do. Like, let's get the kids out. Let's teach the kids how. If that's something you think you might be interested in doing, you know, send me a message on Messenger. We're more than happy to discuss it. We have, like I said, the next one is on July 25th over at White Lake. We're just finalizing the location now, but I think we're going to be in a very good spot. It's going to be great. There'll be a lot of, I won't give it away because that's not 100% locked in yet, but the location is going to be, it's going to be great with these super hosts. And, but yeah, that would be the biggest thing. If that's something that if anything that was said today moved you in any way, shape, or form, and you would like to participate in some way, no matter how big or small, for my club down in this neck of the woods, fire me an email or send us a message on Messenger. And you can always go to plowfish.peterlarmand.com and you'll see everything that we do there. Everything for the kids is on that section of the webpage.
Very, very cool. Jim, you could speak to this because this is a chip off the old block when it comes to you, but Sonia shared a story.
It's so
about
true.
an
You know,
8-year-old.
I'm sitting
Yeah.
here and I'm hearing Peter mention about when he bought a bait caster at Fishing Buddies off me when he was a kid. He used to fish with his dad and come out like that. To hear him mention that, and then like there was a couple of weeks ago when that guy posted a picture of me when I was tremendously good looking and my hair was still red, and he was at my side, and he's 53 now. And, you know, so many of these things, like Anthony there, the CEO, you know, sitting with those little kids. He was a guy that I took fishing as a kid. And, you know, Peter, this just proves that it goes around in a circle, buddy.
Absolutely.
I did it to you. I did it to the kids that were your age at that time. And now here you are doing it to more kids in a circle. And I just think that's just, it just proves that it works, and it makes it all worthwhile. Because I gave up hundreds of days of fishing over the years to do all these things with the kids, and I don't miss those days of fishing one bit. I got my fish. I had years when I fished 100, 125 days. You know, people say, "Oh, I fish 50 days a year." No, you don't. You know, think you do. It's like the guys that catch 150 bass, you know, and they have a counter. And I say to them, "Yeah, but you're supposed to reset the counter every year." You know, just go on. You know, you don't realize how many days you don't fish really when it's out there. You know, like 25 times a summer means once a week. Like that's, you know, that's becoming a lot of fishing for 25 weeks. If you get out every week, you always hear, you know, people saying, "I haven't been out for weeks," you know. But no, there's something about taking kids and doing that too. And when I come down too, Pete, I'll bring a kid a bag of stuff that'll make him cry.
You always do. You
could do a draw. I'll get some nice stuff.
Right on. Well, listen,
Very
you two, I can't thank you enough for all you do and have done to allow us to be honored to be a part of it. Peter, if there's anything we could possibly do to help, of course, we'll share the Future Anglers program with you so that you get an idea of what to expect. And this is something that your anglers can work on in the off season as well. So it's kind of cool. And as I said, it sounds like it fits in very well. But I will say this: we may not fit in a Honda Civic, the three of us, that well. But you put us in any room, and we fit pretty darn good because we're all like-minded. But big tip.
We could be a portable dam when there's floods.
That's it. Just lies across the bottom, we'll be fine.
Well, from one cofferdam to two others, thanks so much for all you do, lads. And it's been a pleasure doing this.
You know, Scotty, you're not exactly a slouch at this either. You've done a lot too, buddy.
I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate you guys for having me. It means a lot to me. It really does.
Awesome, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. You guys have a great week. Thanks so much.
Take it easy. Be safe out there. Put a life jacket on you, dummies. Yeah,
absolutely. We got Lawrence coming up right after this. We missed you last week, Lawrence.
I tell you, I missed you guys too. Not. I'm.
Well, then that's the end of our show. We're going to Jay right after this. No,
hit the ejection button. Boom. I'm out
funny,
here.
buddy. But I know you've been busy. There's been lots going on. You have the newsletter that's upcoming, I believe, this month. But before we get to that, of course, you attended a Great Lakes Commission meeting. I think it was last week, and I'd love for you to give us an update on what's going on in that department.
Yeah, so last week it was the Great Lakes Fishery Commission, and I've been appointed as an advisor to the Canadian commissioners. So there's 4 Canadian commissioners, and I'm one of 14 advisors. I'm an advisor at large, so I can delve into any topic I feel like. But I met my fellow advisors. It was pretty cool. There's two people there from the commercial fishing sector, 2 environmentalists, 2 scientists, 2 Indigenous persons, 2 recreational fishing advisors, and so lots. I'm in lots of good company for sure. But to be a public advisor, I thought, well, a public advisor, but you know what? That's pretty cool. I can stick my nose into anything and talk about anything I want. I have no limits. Can you imagine? They gave me no limits.
Wow. I'm surprised you made it. I'm surprised you made it to our live here tonight then.
Yeah. No one lynched me. And so far, results have been good. But it was interesting because there was 3 days of meetings. So we'd start at 7 in the morning. We'd finish around 9 in the evening, working lunches, working dinners, working breakfasts, no room for rest or anything. But lots of 2 interesting things I noticed. One is a ton of scientists who were on various lake committees. So we hear lots of reports on the status of the Great Lakes, and I'll get to that in a second. But these scientists, man, they're not paid, right? I'm not paid. No one's there is getting paid except for the executive committee, which coordinate this whole thing full time for the U.S. and Canadian governments. But the rest of it is like 99% of the people are all volunteers. And I'd say about 95% of the people involved with this commission, this Great Lakes Fishery Commission, are scientists. So you have this strange mix of old guys, old scientists that have been doing this their whole life, and then young people that are getting into it, and a lot of women that have already put in 15, 20 years of research, in some cases more, in some cases they're starting their careers. But you meet someone and they've done 30 years of research on brook trout in Lake Superior, or 30 years of research on whitefish in Lake Huron. Just incredible dedication to the fish of the Great Lakes. Absolutely. They're all heroes, man. They're all heroes in my mind. I'm thinking, man, these people should all be on TV. They should all be featured somehow. We should get the word out on these people. It's just astonishing. Absolutely amazing.
Absolutely, we should. And of course, they don't do it. I mean, some will say, well, yeah, okay, it's their job. With that kind of dedication, I don't know if I'd want to do something I like for 15, 20 years, let alone research fish. But that is a passion that isn't shared by a lot of folks. And the dedication to that passion is certainly appreciated because, of course, we know far more about our fish than we've ever known right now. So that's awesome to hear. But again, what were some of the topics and what were some of the discussion points?
Well, the big thing is, this whole thing came about 75 years ago to deal with the sea lamprey invasion in the Great Lakes that had wiped out pretty much a good chunk of the population of fish. I didn't say they wiped a species out, but they wiped out, 90% of the fish in the Great Lakes for over 100 years. Starting in 1875 all the way up to 1970 before they discovered lampricide, and that was the Great Lake Fishery Commission scientists that came up with lampricide. It's a very specific biodegradable toxin that they put into the rivers where the lamprey spawn at the right time, that it affects the baby lampreys coming out of the eggs. I don't know what they call them. I can't remember, but it kills them in the river before they have a chance to get back into the lake. And they know exactly which rivers and when they spawn. So they put this into the rivers. Maybe this river, it'll be every 3rd year on this, every 2023, and then it'll be 2026. And they know if they do it they'll get 90% of the lamprey. And so this has been going on since since the 70s. We started with the lampricide, and that's rebuilt the fish stocks in the Great Lakes to what we have now. And but they realize it is a sort of a pesticide. So they're working on all sorts of really cool studies and implementing tools to create some more physical barriers to lamprey. So how do you prevent the adult lamprey from returning to these rivers to their preferred spawning beds and preventing them from laying their eggs? So that's the key, because if they can do that and they're already finding out, they said, okay, look, here's one for $45 million. If we implement this system on this river, it will prevent us from having to put lampricide in here, and it'll be like $100 million savings, because we're talking, $25 million with a lampricide a year to put the stuff in. That's what it costs. That's what the U.S. and Canadian governments are spending, and that goes on and on and on every year. The price just goes up, right? Like the price of everything. So if they can invest in some hard infrastructure, they save money. They can show that they're actually saving money by investing in this hard infrastructure, and doing a good thing for the environment too, by eliminating the need to introduce this. And then you got different sea lamprey in different parts of the Great Lakes that have a slightly different variances. So they have to adjust the lampricide to meet the specific, biology of these different lampricide sort of subsets. So that's an ongoing research that costs money as well. I tell you, just that in itself, and that probably takes up maybe, I'm guessing, 75% of the resources of the Great Lakes Fishery Commission is just keeping the fishery alive.
It's awesome. Well, with that being said, of course, being a pesticide, Sonia's sharing something here in the comments that I think is pretty cool. She saw her first American eel swim by in Port Credit this week. It was about 3 feet long. So my question is, this lampricide that they use to basically mitigate their growth, their increase in population, does it have any adverse effects on any of the other living animals? They concocted it so it would have a very short lifespan. They put it into just specific parts of these water bodies where the eggs are just hatching. So It gets the baby lamprey just as they're coming out of the eggs. And then within a very short period of time it biodegrades, so but it washes down the river. It's pretty much gone. It's not toxic anymore. So what else can it kill? I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'd want to drink the stuff, and I don't think I'd want to put it in my aquarium. But how they're using it is pretty precise, right? So, and the lamprey, they spawn when the water hits a certain temperature. So they know when the lamprey show up. So it's a very short period of time when they have to use it. If they don't put it in all summer, it's just a very brief window, and they get they've knocked back the population by 90%. So that's all I can say about that. That's all I know about that in terms of toxicity. But I'm sure it's like anything, it's toxic, right? So if you're there, you happen to be there as a fish or a frog at the wrong time, you might find it discomforting or deadly. I'm not sure. So with that being said,
yeah,
I think it's incredible the amount of research that had to have gone in to making sure that whatever the kill rate is diminished to the utmost minimum, but make sure that it's effective enough to have an effect on the lamprey. So again, I can't imagine the amount of research that has gone into that to hit a window that's probably the size of a postage stamp.
Oh yeah. You're talking a long shot here, right? And so they've got laboratories where they bring the lamprey in, and they're testing on other creatures, and it took years to get them to dial this in. It took years to dial in the lampricide treatment, and they're, like I said, they're constantly adjusting as well for variances. But one thing we've discovered too, and we talked about, and this is really underscores the need for this, is in 2020 with social distancing, that year was a missed year for applying the lampricide. And then last summer, with budget cuts in the United States, chainsaw to government departments and all that stuff, right? A lot of the people who do this work got laid off. So they missed 6 weeks or so of the window down in the States for applying on the American side as well. And we saw already, from the 2020, we saw in 23, 24, a huge uptick in lamprey in the Great Lakes. And then last summer, with that window application is missing as well, we'll probably see another little uptick in 2 or 3 years. But that's how quick it can turn around. Like it can just rebound. The population can rebound so quickly. So this is not something we can take it, we can skip out on or miss out on. It's something we got to be on top of every year. And we learned that the hard way over the last 6 years.
Well, regardless of what it does to some of the native fish, as Jay has mentioned, it's an effective means of mitigating their numbers. And let's face it, what would our sport fish look like if we weren't doing this work?
It would be like Lake Erie's be dead again, like it was in the 80s, and the fishing in Lake Ontario would suck totally. They were trying to put in salmon into Lake Ontario for years before, in the 1940s and 50s, and nothing would take because the lamprey just kept wiping them out. So It wasn't until, we first started having the success with the Chinook and coho introductions in Lake Ontario in the 1960s because of lampricide, right? And that allowed them to take off. Now you look at the Great Lakes, and throughout the Great Lakes, it's not perfect because everything changes. There's always changes, right? You look at Lake Erie, you've got a huge walleye population that's predating on perch because they've run out of their traditional food sources. So now they're targeting baby perch. So now the perch population has been driven down a little bit by the large number of walleye. So, nothing lives in harmony. There's always these give and take and yin and yang going on in the Great Lakes. It's nature. That's how nature is. It's not just.
It is. It's interesting too,
right?
And Jay and I shared a synopsis of what's going forward with this year with Lake Erie, and it's something that I've always thought that we should really look at and think of when it comes to making sure that we are sustaining and maintaining our sport fishery by introducing a forage base. And I believe I think it's herring. Jay, I'm sure you're going to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they're going to be stocking herring in Lake Erie as a means of not just feeding fish because they're going in at a fairly good size, but to reestablish themselves and provide that sustenance that big walleye need and to grow some of these fish out. So I love these thinking outside the box initiatives.
Oh yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's only going to benefit us anglers, so it's cool.
Oh yeah, like it's amazing, the work, the understanding of how these fish evolve and the things they're challenged with, and sometimes they're victims of their own success, right? Because now all of a sudden they've gobbled up all their normal prey, like the walleye in Lake Erie have gobbled up all their traditional prey. Now they're looking around going, what else can we eat? Hey, look at those yellow and black fish over there. Let's eat them. And
it's a good thing too. The gobies, I know we've talked about this at great length, but have they ever really stepped up and helped feed our sport fishery?
Who would have thought, eh? Who would have thought? Look at the smallmouth bass in the St. Lawrence and Lake Ontario. Lake Ontario is just booming on so many fronts, and Lake Michigan or Lake Superior has a sustainable lake trout fishery. Lake Huron, it's sort of bouncing around a little bit. Lake Michigan's bouncing around. Like the Lake Michigan, the nutrients level in Lake Michigan has gone down because of controlling for excess nutrients entering that water body. And so the salmon have struggled a little bit because they're fast growing and they need a lot of protein, a lot of food. And when you have less nutrients in the water, the food base doesn't recover as quickly. And then the Chinook go, where the hell's all my dinner? Yeah. So they've dropped off, but the lake trout thrive in those kinds of environments. So the lake trout are doing well in Lake Michigan. Lake trout are doing well in Lake Superior. They're in Lake Erie and Lake Ontario as well. Now, to the point where if you have a commercial fishing license in Lake Ontario and you catch a lake trout, now you can actually sell it. Before you couldn't sell it, even if it was dead, you had to throw it back or give it up for science. But now you say, oh, I got some lake trout in my net. You can sell them now because the lake trout population in Lake Ontario is doing much better. The only problem seems to be whitefish in Lake Huron and into parts of Lake Superior. And a lot of the blame is being put on zebra and quagga mussels. I guess, I don't know the connection. It wasn't really explained, or I was sleeping during that part. I asked a few other people, they shook their heads too. They weren't sure. But I think the idea is that, whitefish are bottom feeders. And if you got a bottom that's completely covered in zebra mussels and quagga mussels, and they don't have the tools to digest those, mussels, because that's not part of their prey. That's not what they're used to eating. Like there's some fish can, but not whitefish. The whitefish population is being knocked back. But I also talked to a commercial fisher who works up on Lake Huron, and he says, the whitefish population is reducing here and there, and he says they're having to go further and farther afield to different places where they normally wouldn't fish, spend more gas to find the fish. But there's a lot of commercial whitefish going on up there on northern Lake Huron, and has been for a while. And so, but we didn't hear if that was, what the implications of that are in terms of the population. Is it being managed properly? I'm not sure. No one was pointing fingers, but everyone wants to find out what's going on. That's for sure. Everyone's 100%. Very, very interested. Yeah.
Great to hear that Lake Ontario is as healthy as it is. Obviously, Lake Erie needs some help, but is still, very sustainable based on the quantity and quality of fish that they have. Lake Huron is one of those anomaly lakes where, obviously it was heavily affected by zebra mussels. And of course, the gobies got into that system. But, the explosion of walleye, especially in the southern part of the lake, has been off the charts. And, a lot of folks will say that a lot of those fish are coming down from Bay de Noc, and they've just basically migrated because they need a source of food. But either way, as I said, Lake Huron, which has always had walleye, has never really seen the kind of populations that it's seen in recent years. And anglers are definitely benefiting from it. George has mentioned, he corrected me, it's Cisco. Bring back the Cisco as part of the lake management plan for Lake Erie, and they are doing it on other Great Lakes. I think that kind of out of the box thinking, at least from a aquacultural side of things, I think is on point. I really do think we need to address the forage base. So that's great. Thanks, George.
And Cisco, I think, is a native fish species too, right, for the Great Lakes. And they're, again, a slow-growing fish that doesn't require a super high-test protein because they don't grow fast, so they don't need a huge food source to support such a ravenous appetite. So they grow slow, and they feed other fish like lake trout that grow slow. So it's definitely it's going back to the way it was, right, before everything changed. Full circle in some senses. It's quite astonishing.
John has brought up a question here, or a point. He says we should train pike and muskie to chew on them lamprey. I have to ask, do they have a top predator? Or do they have any other fish or species that feed on them?
I don't know. There's some lamprey that there's different species of lamprey, right? There's sea lamprey, which are the big fellas. So that came out of the Atlantic Ocean. But there's other landlocked versions of lamprey that are way less aggressive, way less deadly, and have been a traditional food source for people. So indigenous people, especially for thousands of years. So, it's not like they're all evil. And it's just these sea lamprey, they're so big and ravenous that they can definitely suck a fish dry. A couple of them, 2 or 3, can kill a salmon. And we've seen that, with the way they wiped out the population in the Great Lakes of not populations, but definitely took the numbers down. And it's astonishing. One thing, I'll tell you, 2 other quick observations. Well, one observation that came up at what I noticed is that a lot of focus on fish, right? A lot of focus on sea lamprey, that's for sure, and fish health and how to how the two are related, and then other things related to fish health as well. More conversations happening with the International Joint Commission, which deals with water quality issues on both sides of the border and how to work together on solving that. So there's some coalitions being developed between those 2 commissions, which is nice to see, because before it was the Fishery Commission did the fish and the IJC did the water, and the 2 never talked. But now that's not the case anymore. But what I did notice is where the commercial fishing, when they talk fishing, it's commercial fishing. And, we got a $7 billion fishery there. And they know how to measure it in terms of the commercial value, like $300 million a year of fish caught and sold. But they don't know how to really calculate the other $6.3 billion worth of economic activity that's generated by recreational fishing. And recreational fishing is, I think, needs to get a lot more coverage and a lot more boosting and a lot more representation and respect, from these types of institutions. It's just because we don't know how to measure it. We know that it's super important to a lot of people and a lot of coastal communities and a lot of livelihoods and a lot of jobs and a lot of tourism. We need to figure that out and start putting some numbers around that and start to give it the respect it deserves. And that's going to be my mission, and I'm hoping others as well. But that's definitely the drum I'm going to be beating at that Great Lake Fishery Commission.
That's awesome. There's some great comments coming in the background, of course, to answer John's question. So do they have a top predator? And I don't know that anyone really knows, at least the ones that we want eaten. I don't believe we know that there is. Sonia had brought up something about the sheep's head and also alewife. And of course, George has just chimed in here with, one of the reasons for the walleye success and growth is and recovery in Lake Huron is because of the collapse of the alewife population, which Sonia has mentioned. They don't contain a nutrient, specific nutrients for egg growth, and I had forgotten that. So thanks, Sonia, for mentioning that. But we have one collapse, which means the thriving of another species. So it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, and the alewife, I think they were a native invasive population as well. That's why they put the Chinook and Coho salmon in the Great Lakes. They eat the alewife, and they've been doing a good job at that. But it's the alewife population dip, and then it sort of stabilized. It's never really, at least in Lake Ontario. So we still have a good, healthy salmon population. It's not the case in Lake Michigan. I think that the alewife population definitely tanked there, and sort of the salmon population tanked. That followed, but. Again, it's all about nutrients.
And it did because, of course, on the southern end of Lake Michigan, didn't the charters have to, hold on all their charters? They weren't allowed to fish.
Yeah, they had to switch over to lake trout from salmon, and it's one thing to catch a screaming 20-pound coho or a 25-pound Chinook, but when you got a 5 or 10-pound lake trout on the end of your line, it's just not the same thing. And and I was talking to the commercial guys. They said you can catch a lake trout now and sell them, but he said no one wants them. No one wants to buy them. Like, you can't give them away.
No,
he said lake trout have no commercial value.
I have to agree, and it's not because the biggest concern I have is, of course, the amount of accumulation of contaminants that lake trout, because they're in a water body for so freaking long. They're basically like a sponge, and everything that's in that water body, they basically have in their fats and their flesh. So yeah, I would be weary of giving away lake trout to some people, especially of large size.
Yeah. Some
key notes that you wanted to share before we let you go in regards to the upcoming newsletter from Bluefish Canada.
Well, I'm gonna. I will mention there. Yeah, it's out there now. So go to the website and register the website, and you can also find a link there that'll take you to our archive page where you can go back 20 issues of the newsletter and get access them there as well. But there's one other quick thing I'll mention. A couple things, but just one quick thing. Tench has come over from Europe, I think, and it's an invasive species, and it's working its way up the St. Lawrence River. And they think this is a fish that did well in very slow currents and water that has very little oxygen, almost like a goldfish, it sounds like. But they're moving up. They're moving up, man. And I heard a really good presentation. I'm going to share a recording of that. So stay tuned for that in the next newsletter. But you know, these are mighty tough fish. They were in some lakes in the United States. They were put in there by mistake by people who had operations who were trying to grow them and sell them, and they tried to kill them using toxins. Never worked. Then they drained the lakes, literally drained the lakes, waited, refilled the lakes, and the tench came back. They literally buried themselves in the mud and survive in the damp mud for up to a year, if not longer. And then when the water comes back, they just dig the way back out of the mud and come back. You cannot get rid of these fish. You cannot get rid of tench in no conceivable way. Once they're in, they're in. Now, they don't get big, but they are, if you watch any of the competitive fishing going on in the UK, people fish for them. And they count them towards their catch, towards their pound. But you got to catch a whole lot of them before you're going to get any substantial weights. It's not any one fish. But yeah, they're coming up the St. Lawrence and spreading out. Now they found them in the Bay of Quinte now too.
They're starting to get large too.
What's that?
They're starting to get large too. They started as a smaller fish.
Yeah.
But we've seen in the fish off a couple submissions where it's like, we can't count that because it's an invasive species. But very quietly, we've seen a growth spurt in those fish. Jay actually just chimed in here and said tench came to Canada in 1986 when they were illegally imported from Germany to an unlicensed fish farm in Quebec.
That's right. One guy brought 30 of them in, grew them, couldn't sell them, let them go. 30 fish and they went into a small river, made it into the St. Lawrence, and now they've made up the St. Lawrence. One guy. What? Incredible. It's incredible.
30 fish have created this. Holy smokes.
Yeah, 30 fish. Absolutely astonishing. That's a good, thanks for reminding me. That was in the presentation from DFO. They have a really good, DFO has a really good scientist who's working on that. But yeah, these are great. They do eat baby zebra mussels, and they can eat bigger mussels too, because they've got one of these sort of, what do you call it? There's a term for it, but it's some sort of cruncher in the back of their throat where they can smash mussels. They can smash shellfish in the back of their throat by crunching on them. So if you catch one and you got one deep hooked, you might want to think twice about shoving your finger down their throat. I asked about that. And they said the mouth is pretty small, but I'm thinking, well, finger's not that big. And if you want to get your hook out, you might just be tempted, right? But yeah,
sounds like we should be destroying them anyway. So just cut the line and do the most decent thing you can to remove them from the body of fishery. But what I'd be interested in, of course, we talked about it at the beginning of the session, is there was this big concern about gobies, and all of a sudden gobies have now become a mainstay for a lot of our sport fish. Yeah, does tench have that same ability?
I don't know. And I think, are tench competing with perch? Look, I listen to the scientists, and God bless the scientists for all the research they've done on tench and for the knowledge that they share. But my questions were, how are they, existing alongside other fish species? And what do we have to worry about? And, should people be eating these things? What's the fish consumption advisories on these things as well, right? Are they edible? Should you eat them? Are they out competing perch because they love weed beds, so they're hanging out in the same places the perch would be hanging out? And are they going to become a food source for other fish species? I don't know. Like we didn't get a big picture perspective. We learned a lot about the fish themselves, but missing the big picture perspective.
Well, let's hope that let's hope that they provide predatory fish a means of a new meal, but also don't have lasting effects on the perch population, because that would be catastrophic if it happened. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Lawrence, as always, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for bringing some knowledge to our community, and of course, keep up the great work. We love hearing that you're on these advisory boards and having our say. We appreciate you in a big way.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
Right on. We got Jay Barnucz coming up right after this. You have a wonderful week, Lawrence. All the best, man.
Cheers, man.
Max Scent is better because of its scent dispersion. It's that simple. It's a type of material that allows the chemicals we put in there to ooze out quicker. and it creates a larger scent field faster. That brings fish to the bait. And then, the perfect lure is always, they see it, they come close, they smell it. Since fish do not have arms, they test things with their mouths. So he puts it in his mouth, done. The scent and flavor just got him. Flux gill, its unique thing is that it has the holes in it, right? And it creates surface area that's way more than if that was a non-perforated bait. Why is that important? Surface area is important because the more water contacts that bait, the more scent is getting into the water and quicker. And that's why that amount of surface area will get you fish when it's tougher, but it'll also catch you more fish when it's not tough.
From the apex of science-first engineering and the most powerful minds in fishing, the most effective soft plastics ever made. Introducing Berkeley Lab Series, the best of our scientifically proven best fish catching formulas combined, refined, and reborn together in a single line of technique optimized baits. It's a scientific siege on soft plastic performance by the only name in fishing qualified to do it. The all-new Berkeley Lab Series.
There he is, out on the road again.
What's up?
Well, I'll tell you, it's been a busy weekend, and I can only imagine how busy you are and currently are. Are you able to share where you're at right now and what you're doing?
Sure. I am in Woodstock tonight, working up in St. Mary's. So it's pretty far. Like, it's about an hour haul from here. So I'm not far from Burlington or home, but like I'm still an hour. But I'm a good 2 hours from the work site. There's just not enough places to stay right now. So
that's awesome. With Lawrence's segment.
Let me turn this TV down for a minute.
No problem. Are the Jays winning, by the way?
Dude, they are not winning. The Phillies are all over them right now, but I expected that. So, there's the remote. Found it. All right, let's turn off that depressing news.
Well, with that being said, during Lawrence's segment, we talked about Tench, something that I appreciate you chiming in and correcting us and giving us the 4-1-1. But Jay, is it possible? And I know we've talked about gobies and how they have all of a sudden turned into this incredible forage base for our sport fishery. Yeah. Could Tench possibly do the same thing, or would they have horrible ramifications?
I think when it comes to invasive species, I think we have to be careful how we sell it. So gobies aren't going anywhere because they're here to stay, right? And fish have turned to gobies as a food source. But gobies are still a problem. They're going to get into places where they shouldn't be going. So for example, gobies, and I'll go to Tench in a minute, but when gobies get into our streams, I'm going to tell you, it's going to really impact steelhead. It's going to impact brook trout. It's going to impact brown trout. They are a food source, but what's going to be an egg predator for those fish, right?
Okay.
So we have to be careful. It's yin and yang. You're going to give, you're going to get. And so we can have some things, but we have to be careful of other things. And so, I worry about, and we're seeing those changes in some places with native species and keeping things balanced. Look at the Great Lakes. Look at alewife.
Yeah.
They're not native. And they're constantly in flux, and they can't stand cold weather. They can't stand temperature swings, right? We know all this. So where have we gone back to? Trying to restore native fish because they can tolerate it. Even though the climate is changing, native species are more adaptable. They're more tolerant of these things, right? So we've gone from trying to manage alewife to trying to manage native species, right? So, and I think that we have to be, again, gobies aren't going anywhere, but I think that when it comes to prey fish, we have to be careful. Now with Tench, it's the same thing. They're not going anywhere. They're here to stay. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know. And the thing about tench is they get pretty big. So they're not really like, I can't see them being a valuable food source. I just see them taking up space in the ecosystem, right? Like think about, we have to realize when it comes to fish, let's talk about common carp. Common carp are big fish. Yes, they fill a different niche in the ecosystem than, let's say, smallmouth bass, walleye, northern pike. But let's think of, I'm going to be kind of very simple here. Let's think of the ecosystem as like a bucket.
Yep.
There's only so much room in that bucket, right? And as we add more to that bucket, we change the energy in that bucket. We change the dynamics in that bucket. And things start to happen that we can't even explain, but all of a sudden we're seeing changes. So carp, maybe they can't compete directly with like largemouth bass and smallmouth bass, but they compete indirectly because they might upset their spawning at this time of year, right? The carp are spawning as the bass are spawning. So that could be a problem. There's sort of direct and indirect effects. And so with tench, we don't know what those direct and indirect effects are. And I don't think they're a good forage fish. That's my guess, because they grow pretty fast and pretty big. And they've been around a long time though, eh?
Yes.
Like,
well, ever since we started the CFN fish off, we've seen them show up. And over the years, we're starting to see larger and larger ones caught.
Yeah, like to think they've been around for like in the system for like 30 years, dude. Like that's amazing that they've been around for such a long time, and we're just starting to see them. Like I think it kind of tells you that maybe they're not as good of an invader, and I mean that like in a negative way. I say good, I say bad, because a good invader, or who's good at it, like round goby, they spread quickly, whether it's on their own, through ship ballast water, whatever. Look at tube nose goby. Tube nose goby, they haven't spread as far as round goby. And honestly, we don't see them that often, unless you work down here in the Southwest. And even then, it's only in certain areas. They have spread, like there are records in Lake Ontario for tube nose and other Great Lakes, but mostly just in Erie and the river corridors. And they're just as impactful on the ecology as round goby, but tube nose goby they don't tend to be as good of an invader. They don't move around as much, right? Mm-hmm. But the other thing let's talk about tench. Like they just aren't they remind me of tube nose goby. They just haven't got around very fast. They've been around for a long time and not moved very far. They're in Bay of Quinte now, but they were in the Richelieu River back in the 90s. Right. Yeah. So now, George, you should know minnow, lucidae. They've changed cyprinidae to lucidae. So just, we're going to get our nomenclature right here, George. They're leucicids, as Erling reminds me now. They're leucicids, lucidae, not cyprinidae. So minnow, lucidae.
That's hilarious. John brings up a great point. Suckers are a large goby eating on rainbow eggs and other biomass.
Yeah, but John, I'll take a white sucker any day over a round goby. White suckers and like lake trout, brook trout, and white suckers live together for millennia. Think about it. After the glaciers melted, we had lake trout, brook trout, Atlantic salmon, and white sucker, and longnose sucker, and red horses, and they lived together in harmony for literally thousands of years before we started messing with things in the Great Lakes and changing things. So I'll take a white sucker any day, never put down a white sucker. And in fact, if you want to see some amazing information about why white suckers are important and why they're also declining, my good friend Karen Murchie from the Shed Aquarium in Chicago, she's doing a ton of work on white sucker up in Lake Superior and finding that these things are like anchors in our ecology of streams. And we can learn so much from white suckers, and we should not give white suckers a bad name. We should embrace the white suckers. We should love them. And I do. Amen. I am a sucker for a sucker. No problem.
Absolutely. With that being said, of course, John agrees with you as well. One other fish that is really starting to make a comeback, and I know a lot of anglers on the Detroit River have been mentioning them. Not often that we get a chance to see them spawning, and you shared some extremely rare footage of lake sturgeon in the Niagara River, lower Niagara River. And I shared this on Monster Monday on CFN Feature today. But
Yeah.
dude, like when it comes to these fish,
Yeah.
like these are large fish, and
Yeah.
have we got enough in the system to allow these to fork to, you know, like I'm concerned. These are big fish, man. Like they need a lot of food.
Yeah.
And as
Yeah,
great
and
as they are to catch, do we have enough for them?
Oh yeah, like because I think that they're all benthic feeders, right? So they're feeding on a lot of things that other fish don't eat. But the thing that's challenging about them is that, you know, the fish themselves, they have to be, they're so long lived. Like it takes up to 20 years. Well, 15 to 20 years, I'm approximating, maybe 15 to 30 years, depending on the whether it's a male or female, for them to become sexually mature, some of them. And then sometimes when they spawn, Scotty, they might not spawn every year. They might spawn every few years. So even when they're mature, the fact that we still have lake sturgeon in the Great Lakes is honestly a little shocking because they've been through so much. And realize those ones right there, those fish are as old as you and I, some of those, right there.
Yes.
They're as old as you and I, right? So that's amazing. That's a truly amazing thing. I think about that all the time when it comes to these long-lived fish. Like think about some of the work that's been done around native species like buffalo aging, and some of these buffalo that are up to 80 years old. That's incredible. Like
So true.
and so that tells us something special about these fish, right? And I think that having ecosystems that can support lake sturgeon, that can support buffalo, that can support, you know, all these different things, and actually can survive infestations of invasive species says a lot about the health of our ecosystems. It doesn't mean we should take it for granted.
100%.
So
And George
I
would
agree, George. They are the
Yeah.
canary in the coal mine, and without the white suckers, like I know we want more walleye. I know we want more smallmouth bass. I know we want more northern pike and muskie. We want all those things, but without these other things, we don't have those things. Because if everything gets out of balance, no amount of stocking will give us good fisheries. And look at what's happening in the U.S., man. Like, look at what's happening with like largemouth bass fires in reservoirs. Look what's going on with Alabama bass and wiping out smallmouth. Like, we could have an entire show on just that problem. And I just listened to another podcast this week where the state of Tennessee is just throwing their hands up because anglers are moving these things around, trying to make things better. And they might not have smallmouth bass in 20 years in Tennessee, a true smallmouth. They could be gone because of all the outbreeding going on with Alabama bass. Isn't that something, Scotty?
I think it's incredible for what we know about smallmouth and how they interact with largemouth up here. They are always in distinctive different areas of a system. And they are that way simply because they don't necessarily get along all that well.
Yeah.
And to hear that our largemouth are actually winning the battle with the smallies is like, that's revolutionary. In fact, that's almost hard to believe.
Well, think about actually. So Alabama they're not actually largemouth either; they're spotted bass.
True.
So like we're talking about the third major pillar of the bass family, right? Which we don't even have here.
Yeah.
And so these spotted bass, but they're not. They are a different type of spotted bass. They're not the Coosa River bass or the Alabama bass.
Gotcha.
And these things are causing literally inbreeding of smallmouth bass populations, and basically the genetics are getting lost. And then these things do not grow big. They become basically, I think of it, the way I would relate to this problem is, you know, we put too many bluegill in a pond. Next thing you know, we're fishing for 6-inch bluegill, right? And we're trying to make 10-inch bluegill, but we got 6-inch bluegill or 4-inch bluegill, and we can't, what do we do now? And we're talking about a pond here, but now we're talking about like major reservoirs on the Coosa River. Like that is a problem. Right. So,
and to get back to your point that you made, I didn't realize it was such a big problem. I mean, I know we see lots of videos of folks that have, a pet bass a pet pike,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
feeding them and trying to grow them out, this, that, and everything else. But obviously, it's a big deal down there that people have fish on the move almost on the regular. That's surprising.
Yeah. No, I know, man. I know.
It's concerning.
And to get back to the original point, like we're talking about invasive species, and yes, let's kind of be real here. Our ecosystems are healthy enough that we can tolerate invasive species coming in. This is what I believe. And because we have healthy ecosystems, and if we didn't, the invasive species impacts would be worse. We don't need invasive species, but they are here and we get a free meal. And I think that we've done a great job in North America of slowing down the spread of these things, but we'll never stop it. We try. We've done, honestly, it's something that I would put between the ballast water and illegal shipments and pets and all these other things. I think we've done a great job in North America for invasive species. We can always do better. That's with everything. But I think we've done an incredible job, and I think that we've slowed these things down. So, yeah, George is right. So, Scotty, I don't know if you've been watching the old interweb the last 2 weeks.
No.
But the perch anglers in the Inner Bay along point, and I'm talking Port Rowan, like I'm talking 4 to 7 feet of water.
Huh?
Dude, get yourself a worm harness and start dragging. They are catching walleye in the Inner Bay along point. Yeah, and I'll get some details on it and share a little bit next week. And this bite has been happening for the past like 2 weeks. I don't know what's going on. I haven't had time to get out because I've been doing this. So I just follow along with my friends, and I'm telling you, like the Barnucz were out, Claire and Ryan were out catching walleye in their John boat off of like in the Inner Bay, like a mile or two in like. So for folks that don't know, the Inner Bay at Long Point is about 3 or 4 kilometers across, maybe a bit more, maybe 4 or 5 kilometers across. It's a big shallow sand flat. It's like, I don't know, average depth probably 5 feet, maybe 6 feet at the most. And now it is an embayment of Lake Erie, but historically we don't get walleye. You'll get the odd walleye come into the Inner Bay. Usually there's some deeper areas, but not up on the flats. And so these have to be post-spawn fish that are just up on the emerging grass flats because the grass we're still a little behind on the vegetation growth, right? So what I imagine is it's no different than, I always remember on Muskie Opener, when I lived in Lindsay, buddy, we lived on, Heather and I had a place on Sturgeon Point Pleasant Point on Sturgeon Lake for a couple of years. And I would go out the week before, the week of, and the week after Muskie Opener. And I would catch so many post-spawn walleyes on these, like basically the weed lines aren't developing yet. So the weed lines are almost like a 45 degrees, right? And you would drag your, like, dude, sometimes I just drag a drop shot or worm harness, but a drop shot worked really well. And you would drag that drop shot in like 15 feet, maybe up to 8 feet, depends on the lake. Balsam, they were deeper than sturgeon, and sturgeon, they were deeper than rice. But it was the same pattern. You find those emerging weed lines and you would catch walleye. And I think that's what's happening on the Inner Bay. I'm going to guess they're out there with basically worm harnesses, dragon worm harnesses, probably on those sand flats. It's such a cool thing. It reminds me of like what like the Target walleye guys are doing, or the Linders were doing, like like Saginaw Bay and these places that have big shallow sand flats, and that's working on Long Point. I don't know if this is a one-time thing or if this is a pattern that's been developing. I don't know. Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing, and I do know that we used to have great success on the Inner Bay back in the early 90s. And then we saw a bit of a decline, and I don't know if that was because the forage went out further. Gobies came into the mix, and the fish were confused, chasing whatever moved. But this is an interesting point. George believes they may be eating bass fry because they're starving. Is that clickbait, or is that what is that?
That is just George. George, behave. He's up in the balcony with the other old guy, like the Muppets, right? Mortimer and what's his name? Right?
It's hilarious. Steve
now one thing about I got to mention this about the Inner Bay. The Inner Bay, right now, only half of it's open for angling. So if you want to go down to the Inner Bay, check the sanctuary. There is a sanctuary there. It's a fishing sanctuary. It's set up to protect the bass, but I want to tell anglers, you can't fish in there at all. You can't, like, don't let a line in there. You will be charged. The ministry is patrolling it regularly. So please know where the boundaries are. You have to fish the inner bay. So it's a big circle. The eastern half of the inner bay is closed from Pottahawk over to St. Williams, and then from St. Williams over to Port Rowan and Big Creek, that's open. So you can fish the west end of the inner bay, but not the east end. So check the maps. It's in the regulations. Just look it up if you want to go down. So
great point. Steve brought up this too, armored catfish. I remember the first one being entered in the CFN fish off, and we looked at it and thought, what on earth is that? I'm going to assume that Steve's starting to see a lot more being caught. I haven't myself, but I do know that we have seen some numbers, or an increase, I will say, on those fish. Very prehistoric. Are they invasive or are they natural?
Oh, they're completely invasive, but they've been so armored catfish. We don't know for 100% sure how each one got here, but a lot of them are going to be pet releases. That's what they're coming from. Remember, invasive species come from all kinds of vectors. A vector is a method of how it was introduced, whether it's from a bait bucket, an aquarium, whether it was from a ballast water, whether it was maybe it came over a dam or got over a dam or something like. There's all these ways of invasion. Those are all called vectors. And so armored catfish probably come from the pet trade. That's probably the main reason why they're here. And they survive because our climates are a little warmer, and sometimes these things find like warm water outflows and stuff, and that's how they live.
The one that was caught, it was quite large, and I forget who the angler was that caught it, and I've forgotten whether it was invasive and what we ended up having to do with that. But it was a very unique fish, and if I'm not mistaken, Ontario Out of Doors did an article on it. There was an article done on
Yeah.
I forget the details of it. Very cool. Now, in regards to cool things about fish, my buddy Paul H.A. here has caught a northern pike that I'm hoping you're going to be able to offer a little bit of insight as to why the coloring is the way it is.
Right, we're catching northern pike today. This is kind of odd. Barry and I were talking. The first time we kind of see a northern pike where its markings are all over his belly. Right around him, that his markings are all over his belly. Something a little bit unusual to see, but beautiful northern pike.
Any explanation, Jay? Because I'm drawing a blank on why that would be.
No, I don't have one. I literally just genetics. The thing about northern pike, which are pretty impressive, they are one of the few circumpolar species. Did you know that, Scotty?
No, what does that even mean?
Circumpolar means they are around the entire Earth. They circumpolar.
Wow.
So
okay.
Northern pike are one of the few species that are like they're in North America and they're in Europe and they're in Asia, right? They cover the entire circumpolar, around the whole globe. And so now there are different strains of pike. You've probably heard of the amur pike.
Yes.
There's different strains of northern pike. And I think a lot of them there are some genetics that are unique, but they still are northern pike. They are just like maybe they're subspecies or, and the colors can vary. So this looks like, to me, like an amur, I think it's amur pike.
Wow.
Now I'm not saying that's what it is. That's what the coloration reminds me of when I see that color, but it's just a color. It's just a color variant, no different than color variants in bluegill, color variants in perch, right? We see those. So, but very cool color variant to see that where the northern pike, those like kind of like vermiculations, like on a brook trout, those modeling, it just goes all the way around versus stopping, right? So,
can't say I've ever seen that in all the years I've been fishing. I can't say I've ever seen a pike with that kind of marking.
I can't say I've seen it on the belly before, right? So, but hey, man, this is the power of social media. Like, people have seen this thing before, and who knows if it was ever photographed or caught on video. So that's very cool that we can see that now. That's amazing.
100%. And this is the thing. This is the beautiful thing about social media, because you and I have talked at great length on the negative aspects of social media.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get to see things like those sturgeon. I've seen the odd clip show up here and there when they're spawning, and usually it's very close to a dam, so they have nowhere else to go, and they're just on top of one another. But to see them fighting, like Sonia said, they were young and spry. I've never seen that. I didn't know they were that aggressive when they're spawning, and obviously it's a bit of a party.
Hey man, it's honestly, if you've ever seen white suckers spawning, let's go back to that.
True. Yeah.
It looks a lot like that, except instead of being 12 to 18 inches long, they're 4 to 10 feet long, right? Yeah. So you wouldn't want to get smacked by one of those things, that's for sure. But
no,
well, it depends what you're into. But anyways, like I think that the sturgeon. So now I've seen videos of sturgeon spawning before, like I've seen videos from like Minnesota and Wisconsin, but not many in the lower Great Lakes. And there's been a lot of work to restore lake sturgeon in the lower Great Lakes. They're not as abundant as in the upper Great Lakes. And so to see that happen, now I've seen videos of them on the St. Clair River, which some of that on the St. Clair River is because the St. Clair River is so clear you can videotape these things, right? So you can record this footage. But I think that and how would you ever record that on the lower Niagara River, dude? Like, how would you ever, like, I know on the St. Clair, scuba divers will get in and swim. Like, we've seen the guys with the swim with the walleye, swim with the bass, let the current drift you along. That's a bit of a death trap on the lower Niagara. I'm not saying, so what I'm saying is it's not like that hasn't happened there before, but it's caught on video. It's very cool to see. But we know there's lake sturgeon there, but I bet there's not as many spawning there as there used to be. But they're still trying, man. And you know what? Good for them for trying. Like,
absolutely.
We all got to try, Scotty.
Absolutely. So we missed you last week. You were busy, unfortunately, held up, and still in the waders and soaking wet. So again, we've talked about everything that I wanted to bring, but is there anything else that you wanted to mention before we?
No, man. It's you know what? I've been super busy. So I actually said to the crew, this week is going to be crazy. I don't know. I keep getting text messages of forecasts for tomorrow, like screenshots, and I'm like, we'll deal with tomorrow when tomorrow comes. We went out today. We got our site start. We're at a site for the week, and I don't worry about weather until the weather comes, because with thunderstorms, it's so intermittent.
Yeah.
If they were calling for straight up rain tomorrow and we're going to get like 30 mils, I'd worry, but I'm not worried about the thunderstorms, because hey, if it comes and it thunderstorms all day, like, I don't know what, I got lots of paperwork to do, man. Like, I'm sure dude, paperwork's always there, right?
100%.
So that won't be good, but we got a good start today. I got a new crew this summer, great students. I just so happy to be out with them, with Aaron and Shelby and Jennifer. They're fantastic. So shout out to them for putting up with me and old man stuff all day and telling jokes they don't understand and movie references they don't get, but we're getting there. In fact, it's they are all the same, basically the same age as my son now. That's where the world is at. So it's been kind of fun complaining about my son and then realizing that they're all just as they're all teenagers too. They're not teenagers. They're in university now, like they're in second and third year or whatever, but still it's kind of hilarious vetting to college students about my 19-year-old son. But anyways,
that is hilarious.
No, it got a good group. We work hard. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And I don't know, man. It's last Monday, dude. Like, usually on Mondays is my travel day, so I'm getting up around 4 a.m., going to work around 6, packing the truck, get going, and then, dude, sometimes we just don't get back to the hotel on time. Like, I don't like being out past 6 o'clock. I got to eat. I got to feed myself, water myself, and get to bed to do it all again the next day. And so if I'm not winding down by like 7 o'clock, I get a little mixed for a long week, dude. Especially if I'm starting my day so early, right?
100%.
So But no, it'll be a good week. I'm looking forward to it. Let's just hope the thunderstorms stay away. Yeah, George, field season is the best, buddy. I don't see myself doing anything else till I retire. I don't want to do anything else, man.
Well, the knock on wood, you still have your physical health to allow you to do it. Losing a bunch of weight, it certainly has made you more spry in the rivers, I'm sure, is not just the
Scotty, that's literally one of the revelations that I've had where I'm like, I see where people are at in their career, and I don't want to climb the corporate ladder. I never have.
Yeah.
Dude, I am Top Gun Maverick. I'm not really Tom Cruise looking, but I'm a captain, and I will be the captain the entire time that as long as I can do my job, right? So
awesome stuff,
thanks,
buddy.
John. Appreciate that, man. Really appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
100%. Well,
All
if
right,
there's
thanks.
anything I can advise, just make sure you're hydrated, because the next couple of days are going to be hot and humid. And a reminder,
Dude, if I told you how much water I drink every day now in the past couple of years, I've gotten better. People are shocked when I tell them. So I drank 64 ounces of water today.
Holy smokes.
So I have a jug that's 64
Holy
ounces, and I drank
smokes.
that, and I refill it, and I drank that whole 64 ounces today. And this is a little bit of Ryan Coke, but that's different. That's just different. So I need my tin cup at night. Just one. Of these.
Absolutely,
So,
pal. Everybody does. It just settles you down. Well, hopefully the Jays can recover and turn things around. But Jay, as always, buddy, thanks so much for what you bring to our community, and of course what you bring when it comes to the way of knowledge. We'd be nothing without you, so we really appreciate your time, pal.
I appreciate you guys, and Joe, I appreciate you pounding 6 beers for me. Love you, man. All right, we'll see you guys later. Cheers.
Right on. Take care, Jay. And that is the end of our show. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Of course, our panel, our special guest, Peter Larmand. I keep getting it. See, I keep getting it wrong. I don't know why. Peter, I apologize, but as I said, don't hold it against me, because I love you, pal, and everything that you do. Jim, Tammy, and all of the volunteers at the kids event at Sealy's Bay. Of course, Bob McMillan for paying for the jerseys, and of course our good buddy Walter for helping design the jersey. It went over like gangbusters, and as Jim mentioned, it brought a tear to the big man's eye. So when you can do that to a man of his stature, it's mission accomplished. Until next Monday, we will see you here on CFN Live. But in the meantime, please join us tomorrow for Tourney Tuesday, especially if you are a competitor in the Compre Conquer All Challenge. We will be speaking to you, and of course, we will be giving away a Shimano prize pack to one lucky winner. Join us tomorrow, and of course, our Power Hour on Wednesday. It's a busy week. It's a busy place, and we want to thank all of you for your support. We appreciate you. Have a great week. All the best. Love you all. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end.